This is Moments with Foo with James Foo Torres, better known as Foo, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet, hear their stories, and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success, and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. Moments with Foo is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Foo.
Hello and welcome to Moments with Foo. I'm your host, James Foo Torres, but you can call me Foo, hence the name of the podcast. And today I have the founder of CC Security Solutions. His name is Chris Eggers. I'm going to let him tell you more about that. But first, Chris, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me. Happy Monday.
Thanks for taking the time, especially, on a Monday, almost getting ready to wrap up the year. So it's very busy time for a lot of people, right before going to the holidays. So thanks for taking the time.
Of course, man. Happy to be here.
So let's kick it off with a quick introduction about yourself and your company.
Sure. I'm the founder of CC Security Solutions. We're a security consulting and risk management firm focused on the cannabis industry. We are disruptive to the status quo, bringing a lot of value to our clients, and just finishing up year number 2 here.
That is awesome. I heard when we had the call prior to this, you were telling me amazing things that you're being able to do with your company in such a short period of time and establishing yourself. So that's pretty cool. So can you tell us a little bit more about what your company does and how it's providing value to, and here's mainly to cannabis business owners. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we service clients all over the country, all license types in the legal market. My background is from a law enforcement space. I worked for the Oakland Police Department and then the San Francisco Police Department. And I spent a considerable amount of time working undercover for the Oakland Police Department around burglary and robbery organizations. So, we've got a unique perspective on crime prevention, risk management, and various risk profiles that is certainly unique to others in the cannabis space with respect to security consultants. No disrespect, but a lot of folks come from other industries, and we hope they add value. But our knowledge on crime and crime prevention is super unique, given my background in law enforcement and working undercover. And then we spent the first year of operation, really just understanding the landscape of the cannabis industry and how we could provide value. And what we learned was, with respect to security, the cannabis industry, it's got a broken model. The status quo is a disconnected patchwork of various vendors, service providers, et cetera, with no allocation of risk, limited insurances, no mechanisms in place to address underperformance, non-performance, and a lot of deals being done that are commission-based. So we are unapologetically disruptive to that model. We have a managed services model we call MOS, Managed and Optimized Security Solutions, where we're acting as the general contractor or the one throat to choke, if you will, for all things security from top to bottom, from legacy or social equity applicants, anybody wanting to get into the industry, all the way through the application phase, the design, the build out, and then the ongoing security needs that may arise as well.
That is awesome. That is awesome too. That's why I asked you about your background, because I know that background is very important for people to really understand where the next couple of things that I'm going to be asking for advice and takeaways. That's I want people to know where is it coming from without being confused, right? Because I think that's very important, that uniqueness that you have. I mean, how many people talk to like undercover people that now they're helping like cannabis business, right? Like I don't think I've ever heard that before. So I think that uniqueness, skill set that you bring, is very important to let the audience know. So. Let's with that being said, I would like you to tell us, I know there's a couple people in the cannabis industry that I've had as clients and part of the audience, and what are some advice or takeaways from this year? I mean, 2022 full of different challenges. So what kind of advice or takeaways do you have from this year that you can give to cannabis business owners or even business owners in general?
Sure. as far as business owners in general, it's tough, right? Because, my background is not in business and business development. I just shared my background is in law enforcement. I've been really fortunate to have some really bright folks around me to help me grow and scale this business, which has been important. Anyone who claims to know it all, do it all right out the gate, I think is just lying to your face. And there's a ton of credibility in understanding what we do well and what we need help with. Me personally, I started this business as a one-man band. It was just me, year one. And now we've got, several employees and this second year, 2022, has been pretty big for us. But I think that really the takeaway in that is just showing that our disruptive model is what's needed in the cannabis space. Operators are struggling in various ways. Entry into the industry is tough. And that could be a whole nother podcast, man. I mean, we know there's a lot of social issues and justice issues and just a ton of different barriers to entry into this space. But security is a very important and regulated line item that can be expensive. And under the current status quo, operators, I think, are putting themselves in a tough spot. I only mention our growth because I want to touch on, that sort of proof of concept that we know the carrot we're chasing is the correct carrot, that the mousetrap that we have in the processes we've developed add value to operators across the board, not only in limiting their liability, but saving them money, which is extremely important right now, given the state of the cannabis space, currently today.
Well, in the economy in general, to be honest, it's not even just the cannabis space. One thing that I've told you this when we talk on the phone, that I've heard from, I think it was someone in LinkedIn that was in the cannabis industry, who's saying like being in the cannabis industry it's just, it's hard like every other business, but then you're just playing on like extra hard mode just because you have the extra, the laws, like it's state legal but not federal and all this different things. So in business it's hard as it is, right? Like I do PR and it's very, it's very hard to grow a business, period, in general. It doesn't matter what you do, but then adding those extra challenges, then obviously, it makes it harder. So I completely understand how there's so much room for improvement in this industry. There's so much fixing needed, right? That the security is a big part. So I'm glad that
that's part of our struggle too, right? Is we're disruptive to a model that has existed forever, right? And there is difficulties in sort of educating folks on how we're different than another security consultant that they've been working with previously, and what is the value of making that switch. But again, our clients are saving money, our clients are limiting their liability, we're preventing entry into cannabis businesses and facilities that are hard hit by burglaries and robberies that continue to increase in nature and in violence. So we're just going to keep putting our head down, doing what we do, adding value to our clients and trying to reach and help as many people as we can.
Is there any just out of curiosity, is there any like low-hanging, high impact things that obviously working with you is the best way so you help them all in everything, but is there any like low-hanging, high impact that cannabis business owners can apply, let's say today?
Yeah, I think understanding that each business is unique and doing something at your facility just because your colleague or someone in the industry did it at their facility may not work. Every business is unique, every risk profile is unique, and just I think the biggest takeaway, again, it's going to be a little bit broad, but understanding that your needs are your needs specifically, and putting a team together that can address those needs earlier on is going to save you money in the long term, without a doubt. We continue to absorb clients from other folks, and we continue to help people who try to check the box, in the cheapest manner possible. And I get it, money's tight in the economy, money's tight in the industry, and security is highly regulated. But, I'd say one of the biggest takeaways is doing things correctly the first time is going to save you money long term. We continue to have conversations with folks and be asked for proposals for various different things. And, we may not be the cheapest, but you get what you pay for in a lot of respects in a lot of different industries, right? And we continue to help people who previously tried to do things as cheap as possible and realize that didn't work.
Yeah, I can attest to that specific, not in the cannabis industry, right? I'm not in that industry, but as a getting things done the cheapest way. I have an example of like my biggest challenge, and I tell this all the time, is being hiring the right talent. It's been my biggest challenge, and sometimes I think like, oh, I have one of my clients that's actually a recruiter, but I was like, damn, like she's kind of expensive, like being able to like do that. And then now looking back, it's like, man, I probably should have hired her. I would have less money. And it's funny that way because I mean, it's funny, but at the same time, it's not that funny because of that. So that's why I just want to say is that it's definitely in business. Sometimes there's certain things that you can't just cut corners, right? And security is a big one, hiring is a big one. So do those accordingly, right? Like don't just the cheapest way, like also, find what's the best way, because it often will be the cheapest. So
yeah, absolutely. And to your point, having the humility to be able to say, hey, I learned this lesson the hard way. We're shoulder to shoulder, front line with our clients when and if they have an incident. And oftentimes we get clients that come to us after they have an incident. And so the very first scope of work is really incident management, helping them just get back up and running, and then we try to go and fix the problem. That's unfortunately, when they come to us is after the thing happened. But I joke with my team, we reserve the right to get smarter, right? And anyone who just proclaims to have this like all-knowing, I have all the answers right out the gate, I just don't think it's credible. We're super transparent about what about getting better, and we've gotten so much better and evolved as a company from year 1 to year 2, and super excited about continuing that evolution into year 3. But I think, it starts with just understanding as a business owner, hey, I made this mistake. I can't make it again. I'm going to learn from it and I'm going to get better. That's all we can really ask for. Unfortunately, in business, you see a lot of, I call them peacocks, folks that, are always right, never make a mistake, and they're perfect. I've never met anyone like that, on the real. So really appreciate your point about, learning from your mistake about not hiring that person earlier on. But that's a super important mindset to have if you want to continue to move and evolve.
Definitely. I mean, done a lot of mistakes, and I'm not afraid to say them, because it's just part of the journey, and I'm still here, right? I'm serving. If anything, right now I have the best possible capabilities. I mean the best capabilities that I've had, right? Possible now, because obviously things will most likely get better, but right now, like as if in my whole career, this is the best opportunities that I had on me, like with being connected with TV, with publications and all that, and I learn a lot from like hiring the wrong people to get me connected to those things. So that's why I'm very transparent, because I just the idea, the word of this podcast, I often say, is perspective. And that's why I bring you here, that I bring other people here, and it's a moment with Foo, instead of just talking about a specific thing, because this is here to give perspective to people. So people, I put myself in a position of the questions that the audience would ask if they had the opportunity, and I ask those questions and I share my point of view very real. So people understand that we're all humans. We're all trying to figure it out. We all make mistakes. It's how we react to them and how do we move forward. So that's what I do with this podcast.
Yeah, we learn more from our losses, right, than we do our wins, whether it be in business or in sports, right? Like we learn more from our losses, and to have the, again, humility or just mindset of like, hey, I'm going to get better. I'm going to take this loss. I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to take the lesson. I'm going to apply that lesson and continue to move forward. That's I'm not perfect. We've grown significantly from year 1 to year 2, to be perfectly honest with you. And when we don't know something, we just fall back on that. How can we get better? What can we learn? And I think that's part of the reason for our growth and why folks want to work with us, is that honesty, that humility, and that transparency of, we may not have all the answers right away. We know our wheelhouse. In my wheelhouse, we are the experts. We're working with the city of Los Angeles. We're working with the city of Oakland. We've done work in San Francisco. We've been educating folks, all over the country. We've presented for the International Cannabis Bar Association, and the BBC flew out from London and allowed us to participate in an audio documentary that was just released this past week. So, we're doing a lot of interesting stuff. But I think part of our ability to do that is to just be humble and say, we're going to keep pushing forward, one foot in front of the other. And when we learn a lesson, we're going to learn that lesson and apply it, to our benefit and the benefit of our clients as well.
Yeah, that's a shit. Thanks for giving this away. other than like, is there, so when I kind of like, I'm positioning myself as I'm a cannabis business owner, right? So like thinking about like, okay, like I look at this guy, like he clearly knows what's up. He's coming from that security industry, but is there anything that let's say if I'm a business owner that want to get prepared to work with you, like is there anything that you would recommend for them to start gathering data or something, like to get ready to start getting a security assessment and then move into a more secure location and so on and so forth?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, good question. And I guess there's two answers to that. If you're pre-licensed and you're not in the industry yet, that's where we shine as well, is writing the security plans, designing your space. But we have really morphed more into risk management. And what that means is we're looking beyond just the widgets, the cameras, access control, alarm panels, Berg, et cetera. We want to understand your insurance policy, your landlord tenant agreements, your business operation plans, and how all of that ties from a 30,000-foot view into security. Once it's done, you're operational, and we're, and our scope of work is done. Again, we continue to be asked by clients to stay on in some sort of capacity, depending on the facts and circumstances. So we don't just leave a project, for you to figure out at the end. But that's what's happening in the industry, and that's one way that we're different. For folks that are already operational, I can't stress enough the importance of a security assessment. Having somebody like myself or my team to go in and identify the deficiencies and identify the landmines that exist today so that we can correct them moving forward, again, is going to save you a ton of time, headache, and money in the future. But I understand and I get it. There's high barriers to entry with security, but it's highly regulated, and a lot of folks are looking to just check the box and move on. But I can assure you that that's the more expensive option moving forward. And, we're starting to have these conversations with investment groups, not just operators, because it's the investment groups that are putting in the capital, and they want to know, how is this sustainable? How is this protected? And they don't want to see, if they're going to invest in dispensary A or dispensary B, we've had these conversations where they'd rather invest in dispensary B because those are clients of ours, and they understand the cost savings long-term that we're going to be able to provide, versus, let's say, dispensary A, where you're just checking the box, moving on, and that is going to result in expensive fixes in the future. A bulk of our clients come from other security consultants, or have passed through other security consultants, and they're still having issues, and then they come to us. So I think that's, pretty telling that, the carrot that we're chasing, is the right carrot to chase.
Mm-hmm. That's good. And I've seen this before happening. One of my clients actually, she works with VCs, and then the VCs then assign them to different projects that they have under. So that's super, super smart from you. And also like a great way to be like, hey, if you want to, not only you want to invest on something that is protected, right? So like after you build those relationships, and then they keep investing, they keep telling other people. So that is great. And that is a great way to establish yourself as a gold standard too. Absolutely. Right? Like when you go to where the investors are, right? Like that, because they have they're investing in not just one project, right? Like they have multiple projects usually. So, and that's
the thing. Like in reverse, we have clients, like I have a client I'm working with right now who is opening a dispensary in San Francisco, and they have another dispensary and consumption lounge opening up in San Francisco. And they've asked us to interface with their investment group because they want to go after more capital. And, how do they differentiate themselves and their project from anyone else and the number of other people that are in the industry today that are chasing on capital raising, right? How do you do that? You do that, I think, in two ways. I'm not the expert in raising capital, but, I think you differentiate yourself in two ways. You say, hey, here's why my dispensary is going to feel, touch, taste differently than the next one. But in our wheelhouse, we're able to say, listen, here's the processes that we've got in place, and this is what it's going to cost, and this is the deliverable, and here's the cost savings long term. That's pretty powerful when you're talking to an investment group that is on the fence of continuing to invest in you or not. What they don't want to hear is, oh, we're going to go after the cheapest installation group possible, and we're going to have the cheapest non-compliant cameras possible, and we're just going to check the box and move on and get to business. That's not what investors want to hear, especially today.
Yeah. Risk management on any investment that you do is very important. So that's why I applaud you for that, because that's a good one. That's a good one. So, giving all this information that you're giving here in this very valuable conversation, I know there's going to be people that are going to be like, hey, I either want to or I already have a business in the cannabis space. So how can people find you?
Sure. Info at ccsecurity.solutions.com. Our website's ccsecurity.solutions.com. No www. And shocker, CC Security Solutions is our tagline at Instagram. So pretty easy to find. We've contributed to numerous publications locally and regionally and nationally. So, quick Google search on Chris Eggers and cannabis will lead you right to us. Hopefully we're not too hard to find. And if we are, let me know so I can get on my SEO, folks.
Yeah, I love it. I love it because you really answer that question exactly how I want it to be answered. So because it's always, what is the minimum keywords that I can put in Google to find you? What are the minimum things to find you, like social media, all those different things? So thanks for being efficient on that.
Of course, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So hey, thanks again, for taking the time on a busy Monday to come here to add value to my audience. And I hope that this video, they can help at least one business owner in the cannabis space. So, we'll share it to my audience, your audience, and hopefully that helps. And so thanks, Chris. Thanks for coming here.
Appreciate you, Foo.
Yeah. So this was Chris and Foo, and this is us signing off.
Later.
Thanks for listening to Moments with Foo with your host, Foo. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we will see you on the next episode.